Heavy rains impact roads in northern parishes. Heavy rains across northern parishes continue to impact roadways. The North Coast has been experiencing intermittent showers since the weekend. According to the National Works Agency (NWA), a major landslide is blocking the Junction Main Road in St. Mary in the Broadgate area. The agency said it has mobilized heavy equipment for clearance and hopes to have the corridor reopened soon. Holness announces by-elections for Trelawney Southern, St. Andrew Northwestern. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced by-election for the Trelawney Southern and St. Anne Northwestern constituency to be held on November 22nd this year. Nomination day is on Wednesday, November 6. The vacancies follows the resignation of Marissa Dalrymple-Filibert and Dr. Nigel Clark. However, Marissa will return as the Jamaica Labour Party representative for the Trelawney Southern seat. Meanwhile, by-elections were also announced for the Morant Bay and Town divisions. The division's vacancy followed the death of Jamaica Labour Party councillor Marjorie MacLeod and People's National Party councillor Ron Bryan. I encourage all eligible voters to exercise their constitutional right to vote and participate actively in the democratic process, Holness said while addressing journalists at the office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday.
Put it this way, by popular demand of the constituency, Marissa Dalrymple-Filibert will be the Jamaica Labour Party's candidate for Trelawney Southern. It's difficult to speak for Marissa as to why she resigned and then she's coming back. And I'm certain she will give an explanation. But my own view is that she really respected the perspectives of the public with whatever was accusations were laid in the public domain. And she thought it was the honorable thing to do. But I think that as she went through the constituency and people kept demanding that she return, and she does have quite a popular support in the constituency. So, it's really the will of the people, and we will see the will of the people exercised in the by-election.
JCSA demands immediate action on wage agreement implementation as members grow restive. The Jamaica Civil Service Association (JCSA) is calling on the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service to promptly issue the circulars required for the implementation of the wage agreement signed with the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions in September. Following the signing, the first supplementary estimate was approved in Parliament on October 15, 2024, after which payments were expected to be facilitated. The JCSA said the former Minister of Finance would have indicated that the supplementary estimates include the last elements of a reconstructing of compensation exercise, adding that the reconstructing of compensation for public sector workers have been completed. However, despite this, JCSA said the agreement remains unimplemented, leaving bus sector workers increasingly frustrated. The association noted a formal letter sent from the JCTU president to the financial secretary seeking clarification, but said to date there has been no response. This silence and delay have heightened concerns among JCSA members who have no intention of waiting indefinitely for the well-deserved adjustment to the compensation package they were promised based on the signed agreement, the JCSA said in a statement on Wednesday, urging the ministry to address the matter immediately to avoid unrest. The JCSA said our members have demonstrated immense patience, dedication and commitment to public service, and they deserve clear and timely action on this agreement. Failure to implement the agreement promptly risks further dissatisfaction and instability among our members. PNP says it will not contest parliamentary by-elections, but will do so for municipal by-election next month. The People's National Party (PNP) says it will not be contesting the two parliamentary by-elections set for next month. It will, however, contest the two municipal by-elections. The PNP stance follows the announcement of the by-elections by Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie at a post-cabinet press briefing. Speaking with reporters, PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell said the party remains of the view that parliamentary by-elections are a waste of public resources as the general election is due next year. Dr. Campbell also raised questions about Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert running again for the seat when the case that prompted her resignation is still before the court. He explained that the next local government election is not yet due, so the PNP will contest the divisional seats next month.
As previously stated, we are of the opinion that the general election is due within months. If you look at it, 2 months have already elapsed out of the 5th year, and between announcement and the election date is at least 21 days. So you're maximum 9 months away from a general election, and possibly less. So we don't think that calling a by-election at this time for a parliamentary seat is the most economic way that you could spend the government's resources. And so our position on contesting the parliamentary by-election remains the same, that we will not be contesting South Trelawney or Northwest St. Andrew. I have a question though. If Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert resigned because her matter was in the courts, I'd like to know how has she returned without the matter being resolved in the courts? Because the court is to make a ruling, I believe, on December 5 or 6 as to whether or not charges will be pressed against her. So I am surprised that they would have had a reincarnation, a resurrection, without a resolution to the situation. We will be contesting Morant Bay and Alien Town in the parish council, in the by-elections in the divisions, because the next general parish council election is not due until 2028. And so we'll be contesting in those.
PM incorrect on debt to GDP ratio inherited by his administration, says Robinson. Opposition spokesman on finance Gillian Robinson has challenged claims by Prime Minister Andrew Holness about Jamaica's debt to GDP, gross domestic product ratio, when the Jamaica Labour Party JLP administration came into office in 2016. In Parliament, Prime Minister Andrew Holness made a false statement by claiming that the country's debt to GDP ratio was 145% when he took office. I must correct this. In fact, the debt to GDP ratio stood at 115% when the People's National Party left office in 2016, after a period of careful fiscal management, said Robinson in a media release. In 2012, the PNP inherited a challenging economic situation with the debt to GDP ratio of 145%. By 2016, through determined efforts, we had reduced this to 115%, achieving a sustainable improvement that averaged an annual reduction of 7.5%. It is fallacious for the Prime Minister to suggest that his administration alone achieved the current debt levels by implying they began their tenure at 145%. In reality, the debt to GDP ratio in 2007, when the Jamaica Labour Party took office, was 107%, and during their administration, it rose to 145%. The PNP then undertook a significant recovery, bringing it down by 30 percentage points in 4 years to 115% in 2016, added Robinson. In his tribute to the then outgoing Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, in Parliament on Tuesday, the Prime Minister applauded him for cutting debt to the GDP ratio by approximately 50% to 74% at this time. But while pointing to what he said was the current numbers, Robinson said Jamaicans deserve transparency, particularly in areas that impact their economic future. It is essential and important to present the truth to Jamaicans and fact-check for the Prime Minister. I urge the Prime Minister to provide truthful representation on national finance to foster informed public discourse. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.